This live decorative piece, I think it's best to do the braid first. That way you can catch the dough before there's any gassiness, which would inhibit a smooth, even braid. We want this to be about 36 inches long. Sometimes you just have to moisten everything. In a dry climate like we have today, it's good. Just gives you a little traction on the work surface. If these don't extend to 36 inches the first time, you can just go several times. You do one, just as we've done here. Let them relax a minute, come back, do it. You can see how extensible it is after a little relaxation.
Okay.
The strands are divided into 175 gram units. And the objective here is to get them all right about the same length. We're going to trim this a little bit. We leave a little extra in for padding, so they don't have to be perfect. It's advantageous to begin the 3 braid in the center. You can have 2 to one side or 2 to the other side. It really doesn't matter. You always take from the outside in. Keep it nice and loose. The proofing and the expansion in the oven will take care of filling it in. Okay, it's good to just cover this after the braid and keep it from drying out. This is the main body. It weighs 850 grams. I'm just going to try to keep it into a nice circle, 8 to 9 inches. Okay, we've placed the disc in the center of the pan. It's a good idea just to keep in tune with your dough. It is drying out. It has low hydration, so it's necessary to hydrate it or mist it periodically as you proceed through the project. Now I'm going to take the braid. I want the braid flush with the side of the disc or the edge of the disc. So now we'll just trim this down to fit. It's not necessary that it's braided together because this is actually going to be the focal point of our decoration. So bring this in. Make sure it's flush all the way around. Having moistened the dough earlier gives us good adherence. And now, as this will be the 12 o'clock, I'll just make a little indentation to hold that down, and we'll come back and put a rose in there later. Okay, with this project, normally I start with 18 units divided into 50 grams for the rolls. I see how they go on. Sometimes it's going to take 17 or 16 depending on the diameter of your main body. And then you can just adjust these to have a little bit of space left for the final proof and the bake, so they don't just push upwards, that they expand outward as well. Okay, we've sheeted all of our dough down to about 1.5 on the rondo sheeter. And then we just use the same circle cutter for the leaves that we'll use for the petals of the rose. You can get 3 leaves from 1 disc. So now at the focal point, or the center point, the 12 o'clock position, make a nice indentation. It'll keep the braid in place and it'll give us a little pocket to catch the rose. Take your leaves, place them in, try not to extend too far, but make it look natural at the same time. To form the rose, I start on the table and I roll it forward and give it a little bit of motion like that. This will be the center of the rose. Place this directly in the center and make sure that these 2 pieces are flush or plumb across the top. Bring this over. Your next one goes exactly in the center, again aligning everything in the same plane. Roll it over, next piece, in the center, lined flush, continue. We'll continue until we've added 7 discs. Now, we'll take these, I start on the outside and I go back and just give it a little bit of that natural movement. Some people do this as they go. I prefer to do it towards the end. Okay, now that the rose is fully shaped, sometimes we can take this, it's optional, just to give it a little bit more of a natural look. Not quite too sharp, just a natural embellishment. That's strictly to the individual. Now, to cut the rows and get it ready for placement, by pushing it up like this, we create a natural cutting point, but we also open the rows a little more. Scissors. Now, having kept this covered, you can see everything's still moist. It's essential to keep it covered at all times. If this crusts up, the expansion is going to be awkward and uneven. Place the rows. When you center it, take care to make it vertical, not leaning to one side or the other. That will be accentuated in the final proof. Okay, so now it's good to just give it a slight mist, put it into the proof box, and we'll let it increase 50% in size. At the most, we have to be careful because we have this perimeter to worry about. We'll stencil it and bake it later. Okay, so now we'll take a very fine sifter, go around tapping, and it's good to make a couple of passes. Instead of trying to get a heavy coat on at once, make a couple of passes to fill everything in. We have a stencil in the middle. We taped little handles so we can lift it easily without disturbing the stencil. So as we finish, once we're certain we have an even coat, remove the stencil. And we'll score the rolls. I like to use a lame. Okay, so now that everything is scored and dusted, we'll place it in an oven with mild steam or light steam.